In today's video, I've partnered with Printify to tell you the truth about selling on their platform and share with you everything you need to know before getting started so you can make an informed decision about whether Printify is the right platform for you to sell print-on-demand products with. I'm Hannah, and on this channel, I share about all things print-on-demand and making passive income. So if that's something you're interested in, I would love it if you'd subscribe down below for new videos like this every single week. Now, let's get on with the video. Now, one of the most important things that you need to know if you are going to sell on Etsy integrated with Printify is that you are going to have some kind of funds available to purchase the product that you are going to sell. Unlike traditionally selling on Etsy, if you are partnered with someplace like Printify as a manufacturing partner, you are not going to have to buy a whole bunch of wholesale items, keep them in your house, and worry about having to ship them and make a huge bulk order. However, every time you do make a sale on Etsy, the wholesale cost of the item on Printify is going to be automatically charged to you. And then down the road, when Etsy pays you, you will be reimbursed for that plus the profit that you have made. However, there can definitely be some time between this. So I have seen some people get into a little bit of trouble because they start making a bunch of sales, realize they can't really afford, either their credit card has a limit or they just don't have the funds to cover the cost of those wholesale items, and then they are not able to fulfill those orders. So make sure you are able to at least cover the cost of getting several sales when you do initially set up your store while you're still waiting to be paid for Etsy. Now, typically you get paid for Etsy after the item has been delivered, but sometimes, especially if you are a new account, Etsy will put what we call a hold on your funds while they are still seeing whether you are a legitimate shop. So sometimes you just have to get a few orders and those all go well, and then they will lift the hold. But I've definitely seen this take weeks. So sometimes you can be purchasing a lot of items for orders that have come through, and then you won't see those funds maybe until the next month or even later. So it's really important, if you are going to integrate with Printify, that you make sure you're able to afford the wholesale cost of the items that you're going to be selling, at least for several sales. Now, this is typically going to be the same with any manufacturing partner you have on Etsy, but it's definitely something that some people aren't aware of when they start the print-on-demand Etsy journey. Now, I personally love integrating Printify with Etsy because it allows me to be able to sell a lot of products so much more passively. I'm not in charge of the packing, the shipping, the printing. So it enables me to really just upload the products, and then Printify takes care of almost everything else. However, you definitely need to know before you get started on this that it's not 100% passive like maybe another print-on-demand platform like Amazon is going to be. So if you sell on Printify, Printify is not going to have the capability to kind of run the dashboard of your Etsy store, meaning that you are still going to have to take care of some type of customer service and making sure everything is running smoothly. Now, customer service on Etsy a lot of times just looks like answering questions that people message you and going back and forth on a few things. And occasionally customers will have some complaints or they will ask for special requests. So that is something you're going to need to be checking and you're going to need to engage with. I've seen some people just want to set up their store and kind of forget it, be very hands off, but I definitely would suggest checking your Etsy store at least once a day to make sure you're staying on top of all of that customer service. So if you truly don't want any interaction with other buyers, then Printify and Etsy might not be the best fit for you, but I really find that this doesn't take a lot of time. I'm maybe only getting a few messages for every 100 sales or so that I'm getting. So it really doesn't take a big chunk of time, but it is something you have to stay on top of if you're going to sell on Etsy integrated with Printify. Now, the next thing that you need to know is super important because I've seen this trip up so many people when they begin selling on Etsy integrated with Printify. And that is that the profit margin that Printify is going to show when you are setting up each item is not necessarily the profit you will actually make when the item is sold on Etsy. So when you are uploading your products on Printify, integrating them with Etsy, there is a way that you can either put a percentage of profit you want to make on each item, or you can put an actual dollar amount of the profit you want to make on each item. Now, the profit that Printify is showing is literally just taking the base price of the item, the wholesale cost, and then showing you the difference of the price that you're going to be charging on Etsy. Now, in reality, there are a whole lot more fees that go into selling an item on Etsy. So the profit you're gonna make is definitely going to shrink. So Etsy typically takes about a 6.5% cut on every single sale that you make. But there are also other things to consider. Oftentimes, Etsy runs offsite ads that you will have to pay a chunk for, or if you're running your own marketing or advertising, that also is going to come out of that cost too. Typically, when I'm setting up products on Printify, that profit margin will initially look like maybe $8 to $10, but in reality, I'm a lot of times going to get more like around $5 after everything has been taken out of my profit. Sometimes it's really confusing to make sure you're actually making profit on all your items, so I definitely suggest on Sales Samurai, which is an Etsy research and SEO tool, but they actually have a profit calculator where you can just plug in the cost of the item and then they will kind of fill in all the additional fees and information so you can get a really good look at what profit you are really going to make on each item. Definitely suggest that. It's linked down below. But I've seen some people get really frustrated and super confused when they maybe put that they want to make a $3 profit on an item on Printify, and then when it's actually sold on Etsy, they either don't make any profit or they actually ended up spending money on this order because they didn't make sure that the profit margin was big enough. So definitely keep that in mind when choosing your prices. Now, the next thing you need to know before you sell on Printify is that Printify is going to make sure orders are made right if there are mistakes, but you're going to have to offer some kind of proof for them to be able to fulfill this for you. Printify is really, really good. They do a super great job in making sure most orders are printed really well. The sizing is correct. They go to the right person. But every once in a while, even with an amazing partner, there are going to be some mistakes. Not often, but every once in a while, you may get a request from a buyer that maybe the printing is a little bit off, it went on the wrong size, the wrong color, maybe it was shipped somewhere wrong. I've seen some people just go back to Printify, they kind of message them this information, and what Printify will typically do is they are going to ask you to make sure you get kind of proof or a photo from your customer. In order to not have to do kind of this back and forth, just make it a habit whenever someone says they have a problem with an item, you are going to automatically say, "Thank you so much for letting me know. We definitely want to make this right for you. Would you mind sending me a photo so I can show this to my manufacturer and we can make this right?" This is not only protecting Printify, this is really protecting you. I would love to say that this doesn't happen often, but sometimes people are just looking for a free product or a discount. So you're going to be really nice when asking for this. You're going to appear really helpful. But if they come back, they can't show you a photo, or you see the photo and there is literally nothing wrong with it, then you can kind of let them off gently, let them know that, hey, unless you do, you can let them know that you don't accept returns unless there is actually a problem with the manufacturing of the product. So this just keeps everyone really honest, and you actually can help the customers that do have legitimate problems. Printify does an amazing job. They also have great customer service. So if you have questions about this, they will definitely talk you through it and tell you exactly what you need and what they can do. But it's really great to just cover the basis and always ask for a picture proof of what is wrong with the product. Now, the next thing that you definitely need to know before selling Printify products on Etsy is that just because Printify offers tons of colors and variations doesn't mean you should actually offer those in your Etsy store. So I really do love that Printify offers so many different styles and options for just about every item that they have. However, I oftentimes find that adding too many variations to a product on Etsy is going to kind of hinder the click-through and actually sale completion rate on Etsy. Something that I've learned in my years doing e-commerce is that the simpler we can make the process, the better results we're going to have. So sometimes as people, we kind of get analysis paralysis. If there are too many options or colors to choose from, it's going to make us second guess getting this at all. But if on Etsy you just offer either 2 to 4 color variations, that's going to make it much more simple for them to pick through which one they actually want. When I first got started on print on demand, I definitely wanted to make sure that I had enough options for my customers so they could be really, really happy. But I've had just as much, if not more success, really, really narrowing down the colors that I offer to my customers. Now, I have a video all about the best colors, the ones that sell the best for me, but typically you're going to want to take a look at that design and only offer it on colors that actually look really good. So make sure you can read the text, make sure the color coordinates with the design, and if it only looks good on one color, just offer it on one color and don't worry about it. Even though Printify has great options, make sure you're only offering a select amount on each product. Now, the next thing you need to know if you are going to sell with Printify is that occasionally items go out of stock and you're going to have to make substitutions for your customers. So one thing that I really do love about selling with Printify is they aren't just one manufacturer that only has one version of each product. They are more like a middleman with tons of manufacturers for each product, and you are just choosing the best manufacturer that you want to work with and sell on your Etsy store. The good thing about this is that occasionally a certain manufacturer is going to run out of a product for a limited time. But if you're integrated with Printify, you can always substitute it with another manufacturer for that exact same product. Now, what you need to know though is that depending on how you have your Etsy and Printify account set up, this won't always be an automatic process. When you receive an order, if an item is out of stock, you can either have it set up after a certain amount of time. If it doesn't come back, it's going to automatically pick the other manufacturer that you have chosen to kind of be a secondary one. But if you don't have this process set up automatically, then you are going to have to be checking regularly and manually push through those orders to the next best manufacturer. So I like to keep an eye on my Printify account, so I'm typically checking it every day and I can push through those orders that haven't gone through because an item is out of stock. But if you don't check it as regularly, you're going to want to make sure that you have it set so that when an order comes in for an item that's out of stock, that they will choose another item to replace it with. This shouldn't cause any problems for your customers. So say a Bella and Canvas 3001 is out of stock for Swift POD, I would have it set up that maybe Awkward Styles is going to fulfill that order instead with the exact same item. So your customers will never know and they'll be getting the exact same product anyways. Now, I have been selling print-on-demand products for years and I still really love Printify. Their pricing is some of the best that you will see. Their turnaround time and manufacturing is just unmatched. I really can't recommend them enough. I will have all their information linked down below in the description. But if you want a really easy walkthrough tutorial of how to actually integrate your Printify account with your Etsy shop, I will link that video here so you can get started with your account today. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.